Okay, and welcome to our first of these videos on explaining the project proposal and a little bit about how the folio parts work together, independently and together, and what each part of the folio actually entails. Now, if we get started on today, we start looking at what is it that we want to achieve from this particular lesson. And I'm going to start showing you what it is that makes a really high quality project proposal. I'm going to show you why it's so important to clearly define the project proposal if you want to succeed at your project. And then at the end of that, you should be able to go off and work on your own project proposal and complete all the little different sections like statement of intent, criteria for success, areas of research, etc. Okay, so that's where we're going in today's video series. Let's start looking at the four main parts of a project proposal. Now, when we're working on folio documents in Industrial Tech Timber, we sometimes use four separate areas for a project proposal, or we combine them into grouped areas. But essentially, there are four things we're looking for. The first is we need to tell the person reading the folio, in our cases it's usually a marker, but if we were imagining this in an industry sense, this would be really the client, telling the client what it is that you're planning to produce and why you're producing it. Now, this is sort of bringing in the client and explaining why the furniture item or the timber product you've created meets the need of the client. Once you've defined what it is you want to make, you then need to start defining what are the things that are going to restrict you from completing the project. We call these the limitations. They could be things like time, money, skill levels, etc. Okay, but we need to define them so that we know how to work with them and work around them. Next, we then need to come up with some sort of criteria where we actually define what it is that's going to be used to measure if our project is actually a success. We call this a criteria for success. And the last of the areas is, now that we know what we want to make, what's going to stop us from making it, and how we're going to work out if it's successful, what things do we need to go and research to make sure that we know how to actually make the project? Are there any questions we have? Are there any areas that we need further investigation? Are there any tools, machines, or processes that we think we want to use that we don't know how to actually use? So that's what we're working on here. Now, I'm going to guide you through based on a sample project that I'm going to be making. In this case, I'm going to be the designer, the furniture maker, and I've got a client. So it always starts with the client. So here's this guy here. He said to me, hey, I just bought a new house and I don't have anywhere to put my Foxtel or PlayStation 4. I have a Hampton style theme in my house. I've got lots of matte black finishes throughout. I've got a photo of where I want the project to go, and the size that it's going to fit in is 3 meters long and about 600 tall. So this is all coming directly from the client. Based on what that client has given me and this photo here, I now have a bit of an idea of what I need to make. I need to make some sort of timber, product, furniture, item, thing to fill this void underneath the TV. I know from what the client's told me that they've got sort of a 3 meter length space available, and it's about 600 millimeters tall between the floor and the TV. But that's all they've told me. I know that it's a Hampton style theme house. I can see that the client's currently doing some renovation work in the background. They've got a fish tank here. They've got some white trims and architraves, polished timber floor. So it gives me a bit of an indication of what I need to do to create a project that's going to match in with the existing furniture. And it's really important that we understand where the client is at the moment so we know what we need to make. If I just went and randomly made a blue piece of furniture, it would not fit into this theme. If I made a yellow piece of furniture, while it might be amazing, it won't fit into this theme. So it's really important we start with the client, what the client has already, and what the client wants. So this is where we then write our statement of intent. Our statement of intent needs to very clearly say, what is it they're making, why are we making it, how do we think we're going to make it, and all of those sorts of details. So I've started with mine. It says, I've been commissioned by Mike D to produce a bespoke timber furniture item for his newly purchased house. Now, I'm just going to draw your attention to this word bespoke. Bespoke basically means something that is custom made for this specific client and probably won't work for anyone else. The client has specified the project needs to house a Foxtel and PlayStation devices, and it needs to be in the space directly below the TV. The most suitable items that I could be making here would be a shelf or an entertainment unit. Now, I went and spoke to the client a little bit further, and the client has said that they want an entertainment unit, not just a shelf. So, as such, I am going to design and produce a solid timber entertainment unit. Now let's have a look. Does it say, what am I producing? Yes, it does. It says, I'm producing a solid timber entertainment unit. Does it say, why am I producing it? Yeah, it does. I'm producing it because the client has just purchased a brand new house. Does it say who it's for? Yes, it's for the client, Mike D. Where is it going to be used? It's going to be used in the living room, underneath the TV, used to hold a Foxtel and a PlayStation device. Part number 2. This is where we start looking at the restrictions, or what we call the limitations. Now, the limitations are things that are going to restrict us from making the biggest and grandest entertainment unit that has ever existed on the planet. And so it could be restrictions around size, money, time, etc. This is usually where you need to go and have further conversation with the client to clarify some information to help you understand what the restrictions, or what the rules, what the limitations actually are. So for us here, the limitations, this project needs to fit in the existing space the client has shown us. The area is 3 meters long and 600 millimeters tall. I've conducted some initial research to find out the PlayStation is 300 millimeters deep, so the entertainment unit is going to need to be at least 350 millimeters deep, so that the PlayStation actually fits inside and isn't hanging out the front. I've then gone and spoken to the client, and he's asked that I complete this project for less than $1,000. So that now means that I have a bit of a budget. I know, well, I can't go and make it out of solid gold because it's going to cost more than $1,000. So it helps to work out what I'm going to do. The client has also said that this project needs to be completed in time for his son's birthday in November. So that's given me 10 weeks left to complete this project. So that's the restrictions I'm working within. The restrictions are the size, 3 meters by 600 by 350 millimeters deep, $1,000 for the price, 10 weeks for the timing. So they're my restrictions there. Now, if I think back to what the client said earlier, they've also given me some ideas about themes. So I'm restricted to things like matching in with a Hamptons theme, matching with matte black finishes, like maybe drawer handles or doorknobs or things like that would be made from matte black. So that helps me tie those in as well. Have I got what is restricting the project? Yes, I do. Next up, we talk about a criteria for success. Now, a criteria for success is really just a checklist. What does the product need to be able to do in order to be successful? How does it need to look in order to be successful? Now again, these are usually made in conjunction with the client. You're starting to see the real important role that the client makes in the project proposal. So we start off with 2 keywords, function and aesthetics. Function is where we look at how the project works, its functions, what it actually does. And aesthetics is where we look at how the project looks, okay, in the design side of things. So for each functioning aesthetics, we need to write down what the product needs to be able to do. We need to justify why it needs to be able to do that. And then we need to come up with some sort of criteria that explains how do we know if the project's actually meeting the criteria and is actually successful. I can't just say things like the project needs to be aesthetically pleasing. I need to be way more specific than that. So here we go. I've written one criteria for success here as an example. Once you've got the understanding of one, you can then go off and make as many as you need, okay? But you should have at least one for function, at least one for aesthetics. Usually you're going to have multiple though. So here we go, the first one that I've written. In order to be considered successful, the project needs to safely house a PlayStation 4 and a Foxtel box. It's important that the project is sturdy, as dropping any electronic device can cause damage, preventing the devices from working. To further prevent damages to the devices, they may be stored inside a cabinet or compartment to prevent items falling on them. At the conclusion of the project, I will place both items in the completed entertainment unit to confirm that the function has been achieved. So let's work out. Does this criteria for success that I've written, this little paragraph, tell me what the project must be able to do? Yes, it does. It says in blue that it needs to house a PlayStation and a Foxtel box. Does it tell me why it's important? Yes, the justification is that if the PlayStation falls on the floor, well, it's going to break. So I need to make sure that I produce some sort of shelf or housing area that's going to safely protect the device from breaking. And lastly, does it tell me how I'm going to know that I've done it at the end? Yeah, it says at the end I'm going to put both of them actually into the shelf or into the cabinet, and if they don't fall on the ground, then I've succeeded. What? Why? How? All done. The fourth area of a project proposal is areas of research. This is where we look at things like, what questions do I have? What things am I thinking about? Now that I know I'm making an entertainment unit, I know the sizes, what things start popping up in my head? What are the questions that I have? And initially, I start thinking, how am I going to make it? What tools am I going to use? What glues am I going to use? What timber am I going to use? How am I going to actually join together? What are the joints that I'm going to use? And a whole heap of things there. The areas of research is really just a list that you've put a little bit of detail into. You're describing your list items, but you're describing what do I need to research and why do I need to research. So here we go. Firstly, materials. In order to complete my project, I'm going to be using timber. Since I don't have much knowledge in working with timber, because maybe I'm a Year 9 student or a Year 10 student, then I'm going to need to do some research into a range of different timber species. And then I can determine which one is the most suitable for this specific project. Now, just because there's pine in the workshop doesn't mean I always need to use pine. I can go and purchase other timbers if I think they are the most suitable one to the project. But I also need to think about the cost because I've got a budget. So when I research materials, I'm going to be looking at both how does it look, how does it work, and what's the cost associated, and does it fit within the whole budget that the client has set for me. So the client's given me some information about the current house being themed Hampton styles, so I think I want to find a timber species that matches this. Why do I need to research and what do I need to research? Are they both there? Yes. What I need to research is the materials, the timber species. And why do I need to research it? Because it needs to match the Hampton style, and I don't know much about working with timber. What and why? And that's the areas of research. So we've now successfully completed our project proposal. We understand the 4 key parts. I've given you an example of the 4 key parts, and you can go off and apply that to your own project. You can write your list of all the materials and why you need to research them, all the timber joints that you're going to use, and why you need to research them. Okay? So it's the areas of research is really just where you write down, these are the things I'm going to research later on. Now, if you look at your folio, you might find, well, I need to research glues, I need to research tools, I need to research processes, I need to research techniques and joints, etc. If you're going to research it, it all needs to appear right here in the materials section of your folio. Okay? Sorry, in the areas of research section of your folio. There's nothing that you're going to research that shouldn't be listed here at this point. Look, I hope this video has been really helpful to put together your project proposal. Feel free to pause, go back to whichever sections you need to help you understand a little bit better about how to put this project proposal together. If you need any more help, just put a comment in, happy to help you out there. Thanks very much.